What's going on, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to journal. Now, I'm not going to just tell you like this is a set way you should do it, because I feel like everyone sort of journals differently. But I'm going to tell you the things that you need to be writing down, the things you should consider reflecting on, and how you can improve your trading through journaling. So if you are watching this video right now, please take out a notebook or something, maybe even your computer, and take a few notes throughout this video, because I'm going to tell you what has been most effective for me throughout my time in trading and everything in life. Journaling is crucial in order to make improvements and find common denominators in your mistakes so you can actually change them. That being said, what I want you to do moving forward is, of course, as traders, you want to know what trade you took on a certain day. Now, whether or not you are going to be using a platform like TradeSyncer, or however you say it, or Notion, or maybe just your notes app, or whatever it may be, first I just want you to pick something that you are comfortable using every day. Personally, I used to use my notes app back then a ton, and I would just literally talk about the trade I took, if I followed my rules, what were the confluences and all that. And then at one point, I just started recording myself trading and saying my thought process out loud. And so there's many different ways you can journal, right? But the important thing is that you find a method where you can document each day, include a screenshot of a trade or something so you can see what it looked like that day and visually be able to, get used to, oh, this is what my winning trades usually look like. This is what my losing trades usually look like. So that's step number one. Find a platform where you can journal every day in a manner where you can also look back at your trades and see what it looked like. Now, once you have that figured out, next are the questions that you want to be asking yourself going through your journal with each trade. And this is what's going to determine whether or not you took a good trade. So the first thing I want you to ask yourself is, I want you to create a section that says higher time frame, higher time frame analysis, higher time frame bias, or just higher time frame. And the first thing you're going to do is write down what were your higher time frame confluences for this trade. What this is going to do is this is going to set the foundation for your trade, and it's going to, tell you, was there a narrative behind this, right? And so every time you journal, you're going to include that higher time frame bias, that higher time frame narrative, that higher time frame analysis, whatever you want to call it, but just include a higher time frame section. And you're going to put down, what were you bouncing off of? What did you see? It doesn't even have to be too technical. It could just be as simple as, we looked very bullish on the day. I wanted to follow the trend, wanted to take continuations, something like that. Saw price going towards new week opening gap. That's it, right? My higher time frame analysis is very vague. It's very surface level because it honestly starts to change as the market moves. Then, next thing I want you to do is lower time frame. Were there certain key levels that you wanted to see get hit? If so, did those get hit? Were we bouncing off of a 5 or 15-minute gap? Was there a data high, data low, LR above, LR below? You can get as technical as you want with this, but I really don't want you to overdo the technical aspect of journaling, because that's not really where the improvements are going to show up most. But yeah, we will include a technical aspect for the most part. So now you have the higher time frame, and now you have the lower time frame analysis, right? So create a section for your higher time frame, create a section for your lower time frame. And next thing I want you to do is, of course, include what was your entry model and what was the time that you entered off of. So those are really like the final two as far as the technical section. Your higher time frame confluences, lower time frame confluences, your entry, what did you enter off of? If you trade inversions, then it should realistically be inversions every single time. But sometimes you not accidentally, but sometimes you try something different, right? You try taking a limit order off a fair value gap, or sometimes you try entering off a CIC or some shit that you don't normally do. And that's why it's important to journal these things, because then if you look back at 20 trades and you see, 10 of these losing trades that I took, out of those 10, 6 of those were when I tried to enter off just a fair value gap tap instead of an inversion. Then you start to notice this common denominator in your mistakes, right? So that's what you want to be focusing on and acknowledging and seeing, okay, is this loss because I switched something up in my strategy, right? So now you have your higher time frame, you have your lower time frame, and you have your entry. What did you enter off of? And the last thing I want you to include in that technical side of things is the time at which you entered, because this will actually tell you a lot about yourself, the way you trade. You know, maybe if you notice that almost all your entries are after like 10:30, typically you wait a good amount of time before you enter a setup, meaning you could potentially be missing out on higher quality setups earlier in the day, but you just you don't feel prepared enough to execute that early on. So that's something you want to be paying attention to as well. Recently, for example, most of my trades have been between 9:30 to 10. And what that tells me is that I'm being way more reactive to the market. I'm taking trades quicker than I used to, because I am playing it a bit faster off the facts, not a lot of 9:30 Judah setups, all that sort of stuff. And I've started to, most of my trades have been within that 9:30 to 10 a.m. period. While back then, most of them were after 10 a.m. There was even a point where I would only trade after 10 a.m. Right? But this is why it's important to journal these things. Time is a huge aspect of trading. So please make sure you include that section. So now you have lower time frame, higher time frame, entry, time. And as I said, you don't want to overcomplicate too many of these things, because you don't want to get used to just like, this is what it has to look like every single time. That's not the point, but you do want to have a checklist for yourself now. And so a checklist for yourself, right? On the side of all these things, on the side of your higher time frame, lower time frame, entry, and time, you want to have a checklist that you're marking out every day, saying, did I have a higher time frame narrative? Did I follow that higher time frame narrative, right? Did my trade align with that higher time frame narrative? Very important. Did I take my typical entry system, right? Very important. Did I enter late? Did I enter early? You know, or did I enter how I had to? Was I reactive towards the entry? These are the questions you should be asking yourself. And now, like, for the most important part of all this, right, is that you, like, of course you want to make sure you're checking off all these boxes, whatever it may be. The questions I just said, for example, are great. Great, what the fuck? Are a great like things to ask yourself. But the most important part of journaling is the psychological aspect of it. It's really the psychology. What you want to be journaling is, did I wake up early in the day, and what did I do before my trading session? This is where you are going to notice the most amount of improvements. Because if you start to realize, damn, you know, for the last 20 days when I journaled all my trades and how I felt in the morning, most of my losing days actually happened when I woke up 10 minutes before market open. And that's what I was able to realize through journaling, that most of my losses were very preventable, but because I woke up in such a short period of time, you know, as to when market was going to open, I wasn't level-headed, I was impatient, my brain was foggy, and I was making poor decisions. And that's what I noticed because of journaling. So I want you to put a huge emphasis when you journal on the psychology side of things. I want you to analyze, what did your routine look like in the morning leading up to the trade? These are the three most important things that you are going to have to journal. What did your routine look like going into the trade? How did you feel when you were in the trade? And how did you feel after the trade? This is what you need to document every day. This is what you need to analyze the most, because this is what's going to tell you most about yourself. And you are going to realize that most of your losing days, you probably were anxious during the trade. You probably were scared. Maybe you entered late. Maybe you entered early because you were impatient. Maybe after the trade, after the fact, let's say you took a loss, you doom scrolled on your bed for 4 hours. I've done that. And you were dreading on the loss a whole day, and you went into the next day, still thinking about that loss, wanting to make it back. That is the type of shit that's going to make you realize, what can I improve on? Should I be dreading on these losses like I did? That's what's going to get to your head. Those are the type of habits that will ultimately mess you up with your future trades, and those are the ones that you want to be correcting. So make sure you're journaling that, right? Pre-trade, during trade, post-trade. And now, also what I believe to be the most important part of journaling is you have this section that says, did I follow my rules? Of course, you met all those boxes. Did I interfere with my position while it was in play when I didn't have to? Write a question sort of like that. Like, did I mess with my trade? Did my emotions get to me? That is very important, because what is that going to answer? Yeah, I moved my stop loss to break even early. Yeah, I took profits early. Yeah, I closed my trade while it was in drawdown because I was scared. Those are going to be the factors that mess up your trading the most. Anytime you tamper with a position while it is in play, that is when you will be most affected. That is when your win rate will get destroyed. That is when you will start deteriorating a winning system, because you are not letting probability do its thing. So I really want you to understand that the psychology aspect of trading is the most important part to journal, because that is where most improvements need to be made. A lot of the technicals can be learned very quickly. It is not difficult to learn the strategy. It is difficult to apply it every day with full conviction. If you want to improve a strategy and all this stuff, you can do it as simply through back testing, forward testing. Screen time will ultimately get you there. But if you're experimenting every day with new strategies, if you're going into trades with a lack of conviction and managing your position in a way you shouldn't be, those are the things you need to be documenting, reflecting on, and changing. Because that's what's going to take you from being unprofitable to profitable, or break even to profitable, or just inconsistently profitable to incredibly profitable. I am telling you, please put a huge emphasis on learning more about yourself as a person and where your weak habits and characteristics lie, because those are the things that you need to be self-aware of and figure out how to improve. And the only way to improve them is by writing it down, reading it, and reflecting on it. Because I don't know if you guys have ever done this. When you journal or when you do anything, when you write something down, it almost feels like you are talking to yourself. It actually feels like you are sitting down, with your future self, and you are having a conversation of, what can I be doing? What can I be doing better? So aside from the trading aspect of journaling, the psychological aspect is going to be far more important. And I also really want you to remind yourself every day when you journal what your purpose is. Why is it that you're trading? Because if you don't have a motive bigger than yourself and bigger than money, you will get lost and you will never feel like you are actually accomplishing anything. And it will be very difficult to actually accomplish anything. But if you remind yourself every day and you journal it, you write it down, and you say, going into today, this is what I wanted to see. Took my trade, great, whatever. This is one step closer to buying my dad his dream car, to traveling the world. All these are the things that keep you aligned, that they help you actually follow your rules. Because it's very easy to have things going on in your life, and you decide to learn how to trade, and you're like, wow, I need to help my mom with this, I need to help my dad with this, or I really want to do this with my life, I want to travel, I want to help other people. And you go into something like trading with that intention, but as time goes on, you get warped into the charts, and all you can start thinking about is money, and you forget that bigger purpose. You forget truly why you started this. And the more and more that you disconnect with that goal that is bigger than yourself, the further away that goal is going to get. So you need to stay aligned all the time. You need to stay aligned 24/7 with whatever goal you may have, and it has to be bigger than trading in itself. That being said, now you have the trade breakdown analysis. You have the psychology questions that you should be asking yourself when you journal. And you also have your goals section where you're reminding yourself of your goals in life so you can constantly pursue them. And energy is something that's very important. The more energy you put into something, the more you say it out loud, the more you write it down, the more real it becomes. It is very, very true. So that is why I highly recommend you really listen to this side of things when I say, please journal, how you felt in the morning, how you felt during the trade, how you felt after, and your goals and everything, because that's what's going to help you make the most amount of change in your life. But yeah, wanted to throw in, I guess this was sort of like a technical but psychological aspect to the series. I hope you took down some notes and just had a bit to reflect on in this video. It is a Saturday that I'm posting this on, but who knows when someone's going to be watching this. And going forward with this series, of course, going to be a lot of more technical stuff. We're going to start piecing everything together, because as far as the concepts go and everything, I've taught you guys a damn lot. Like I've really given you a lot of sauce. And I guess it's time I just show you how I piece everything together and we go forward with that. But yeah, hopefully you guys have been learning a ton in the PB theory series, and you guys keep crushing it. We'll love to have everyone make a little journal entry in the comments section. Tell me about your goals. Just tell me where you are in trading, whatever it may be. But I love hearing about you guys. So yeah, and then finally, we have to, of course, end off with a little guitar session. What song am I gonna play? Got to think. Let's do some Jack Johnson. Who's to say what's impossible they forget? Oh fuck. This world keeps spinning with each new day. There's no stopping curiosity. I wanna turn this whole thing upside down. I find the things they say just can't be found. I share this love I find with everyone. We'll sing and dance to Mother Nature's song. I don't want this feeling to go away. Oh yeah, one take that whole video. Sip. Thank you for watching.